So we put some we put a shout out to, you know, our DHM audience, right? And said, you know, this was last night. And it was just kind of a spontaneous thought, and it's like, yeah, let's see if you know, some people have some questions for you, right?
Oh, okay.
So we're going to be at the world-renowned Phase 1 with Michael Jack. So,
and,
hey guys.
And the first question is, who is Michael Jack? Who are you? Never heard of you.
The exact quote in question is, who the fuck is Michael Jack?
Yeah.
Our first question is from a guy named Claude Rozier, and he's in Reading, England. Okay. Now, Claude has a kind of a small label, and he does some mixing stuff, and he's a songwriter too.
Right.
And he has a couple of really good questions for you. Says, hi guys, please ask a question to Michael Jack. One, how far do you go with parallel compression techniques during your mixing? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then in brackets he has, in which tracks in particular are you using parallel processing on?
Right, sure. Depends on the music. Some music I don't use any parallel compression, right? If it's like jazz or folk or something, it's kind of, I don't really do it. But when you're doing like hard rock, heavy metal and stuff like that, like it's essential. And I love to take my entire drum kit and sub that out to whether through an auxiliary on a console or an aux track in my Pro Tools setup, and run that through. I have some favorite compressors, and just completely like decimate that signal, just crush it to death and distort it, and put limiter on it, and then inch that in back into the mix. It's fantastic, and I'll do that on the drums. And then I'll do the same thing for guitars, mostly. And then sometimes even on a vocal, if it's more just if you want a little edgier vocal or something to cut through, like, you know, you have walls of guitars and stuff. Sometimes even maybe run the vocal through like a Sans amp and then just bring that up parallel. Yeah. And just inch that in. Yeah. So it just depends. Like, you have to, it's not like you can do that for every, like, you know, just as a rule. Right. Okay, I'm going to start my mix, so let's get all my parallel compressors in line. And, like, you just have to really think about what you're doing. Like, if it's a jazz record, the idea is to probably keep it as real and natural and keep some dynamics in. And it just depends. Like, it really just depends on what's called for, you know. Right.
And will you be treating that parallel different? Like, again, I think you alluded to it a little bit, where you want, if you want just that. So would you be using low high pass filters just to isolate that?
Yeah, absolutely, sure, absolutely I will. Especially if I have a whole drum kit going through a compressor that's, you know, coming back up. You know, like some of the stuff I do with those compressors, it's very abusive, right? It's just crushed. Right. Yeah. And sometimes I'll have to peel off everything above 3-4K and stuff, because the cymbals can just get like really nasty, right? Yeah, absolutely. And or the same in the bottom end, it might get too mushy. So you just got to use your ears. You got to just kind of use, you know, your judgment and really just hear what you're doing and what effect it's having. And if there's something that's not pleasant, change it.